we have another episode in the bag, Ian, and it was just another one of those positive, good vibes only episode. I think that's how I'd recap this one.
Yeah, it was. I was a little bit. I wasn't worried about it, but it was different. I was a little bit anxious because I knew that our guest today would be a toxic maximalist. And I know we've been kind of speaking in our previous episodes. We've been touching maximalism throughout the whole sort of the few episodes that we've now released, and it was nice to finally get a toxic maximalist on, just because we want everyone on this podcast, not just everyone that thinks the same thing. So it was nice. It was refreshing to have that perspective coming in onto the show. That's what I took away from it. It was nice just to get a different angle and to hear from a toxic maximalist how they see the world through the Bitcoin lens.
Yes, and that was also the vibe I picked up on, and I think this is the beauty about Bitcoin. You have people on who may be a bit more critical. I think this is also in yours and my nature. Like, you'll tend to question a lot of stuff. I especially as well. So I think it's a bit down to our, how shall we say, programming, how we were put into this world.
Right.
But it still shows, even though they might be toxic on Twitter, I mean, everyone is playing a bit of a charade. They're still people. They're still human. They got ideas. They got feelings. They got messages they want to spread. And I feel like that really came out with the Bitcoin Mermaid today. So for anyone who hasn't watched or listened to the episode yet, be prepared. It will be very much a positive vibes boost, I think. And have fun to listening into her rabbit hole story.
Yeah, enjoy. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to yet another episode of Rabbit Hole Stories. Ian speaking, and I've got Joelle here in the room with me as per usual. We've also got the Bitcoin Mermaid. Hello.
Hello. How are you doing?
Yeah, we're doing really good. Thank you very much for coming on Rabbit Hole Stories and joining us here today. And do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yes. Where to start? At the beginning, I guess. I was born in a hippie community in a ruin. I was the second child born in that community 33 years ago, south of Spain, Granada. Now it's one of the biggest hippie communities in the world, maybe even the biggest one. There is 3 hippie communities right next to each other because obviously, more hippies came and they started new places. And it's El Moryon, the oldest one, then Beneficio, the second one, and Cigrones, the third one. And yes, there was all kinds of people there. A lot of English, British people, and a lot of German people, mostly English and German people, more than anything else.
Oh, nice. So like a mix of different people from all over Europe.
Yes, everything, but like really more English and German. Like there was maybe 1 or 2 Spanish people there. In Spain. Like.
What was it like growing up in the hippie community? Was it like a commune type place where you were all kind of like looking after each other in a way?
Well, it depended. Like there was like communities in the community. Like all the Germans used to hang with the Germans and hate on the English with their big sound systems like all weekend. And the English would like be more with the English. And then you had like everybody else, which was somewhere in between, hanging with one or with the other. But you definitely had all the children running around naked, bare feet, up and down, orange trees, fig trees, grapes, pomegranates, gardens with like everything. Like most people had a garden, and it was a, like, if you think about paradise, I imagine it like that. And I was only there until I was 6. which is sad.
Okay.
But though everybody was talking about peace and love and unconditional love, that was not the case for most people, especially not for my parents. So that wasn't very nice, but it got worse after leaving because then I didn't have my friends anymore. So I don't know, it was definitely super magical, and like thanks to those people, I guess we have a lot of the things that we have today because they were the first ones to decide, hey, I'm not dealing with this society anymore. But they came from a society like of very lost people that really didn't know what was happening. So in a way, my parents and all these other people, well, they were quite lost and just trying to figure out, okay, they figured out they didn't want to be part of this society, but now what do they do, you know? And yeah, so it was, on one hand, not so beautiful. Like there was a lot of people that were worse than my parents, a lot of junkies, drug addicts, a lot of like yoga freaks that never ever did anything wrong and everything has to be perfect and no music and no anything. So you had like both worlds and something in between, and yeah, it was very, very beautiful and an amazing experience. Like there was a bonfire every full moon and every black moon. And the bonfire was like 3 meters high, 2 meters wide, and every 2 weeks you had this moment and everybody would come together. And it was beautiful. But yes, you also had the other, like the dark side of the... So it was a definitely an incredible experience.
Yeah, I imagine it to be, because it's almost like these people that decided to be members of this community were escaping the system or some system that they didn't agree with. But then obviously the complicated thing after arriving within that community is trying to find your place within it. And so I imagine, yeah, like you said, there was quite a lot of mixture of different people with different mindsets, different needs and different wants and things. And was there anyone like in control of that community, or were there any sort of like people that were looked up to and respected as people that guided you in a way in that community? Or was it just sort of like complete freedom and do what you need to do?
Well,
or can you not remember?
At Morgan, where I come from, everybody would like buy a ruin and then rebuild it and make their home there. So people did have like their own house or their own land where they parked their Bauwagen or whatever, teepee. Like my father, he lived in a teepee when my mom kicked him out for, I don't know, the 100th time. And so you did have like some spaces that were like no man's land, and you could do whatever you wanted. And then in Elmorian still today, it's similar. People don't really hang out with each other anymore. It's not like it used to be. There's no bonfires anymore or anything like that. But in Beneficio, for example, you do have like what you said, like these guiding figures, like these wannabe gurus that are actually like, it's very sad to see this because you have all these young hippie people that come there like, oh, what is happening? Oh, this is so beautiful. And then this old guy comes playing the guitar, singing Bob Marley songs, and like pulls you into his, fake reality of whatever. So
Right.
you have a lot of like crazy people, put it that way. And
It almost sounds like any Bitcoin citadel if you've been to one ever. They're like very, very similar to having been there, but it sounded like the perfect place for you to get into Bitcoin then.
Well, I mean, like I say, like one of my first memories is I didn't understand why there is different types of money in different countries. Like the concept of having to change the value, like, oh, so it's worth less, or more. It's like, oh, that's so complicated. Why do you do that? Like, it's so like, obviously there is like a lot of reality lost in translation, put it that way.
Yeah.
If you,
Yes.
if you like talk to some South African person that comes from some tribe that doesn't have a calculator or didn't learn math, or they just get this money from their boss for working in some mine, whatever, and they just think this is what you get. No, they don't understand, oh, it's more or it's less than what you get in America, or they don't even understand that it's the same that you get in America with a different name, blah, 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 because there's no education about it. So I just thought, like, it's super complicated. Like, how can anybody work with this? And I also never believed in the idea of borders. Like, I always thought, like, but shouldn't people just be able to, like, sell their tomatoes to whoever they want to, and, like, not, like, or, like, bring their tomatoes to whoever? Like, why do you have to? I mean, for me, yeah, the world is like one place, and we're here together, and we should like work together. I don't know.
Yeah, this is one thing I fantasize about the Bitcoin future, if you like. I imagine borders will start to dissolve or look very different than what they do anyway. There'll be a lot more free trade between people without embargoes and restrictions. And you've got, like, in certain parts of Africa, there's still in essentially, I'd say essentially, they are having a legacy monetary colonial system where they have to, like in France, they've got what's the currency, Joël?
The Central Franc Africain, the CFA.
Yeah, which essentially means that these countries in Africa have to deal with the central bank within France.
Not essentially, like France holds most of their gold. They hold their money
they're
at the
basically being held hostage, and have to operate within this economic system that they don't want to be in. So I imagine when Bitcoin wins, because I think we were discussing before coming on air, Bitcoin is inevitable. So when people do start to have that aha moment, and they start realizing, actually, do you know what, I can do what I want with my own Bitcoin, and the rest of you can go and fuck yourselves. My money is mine. You can't take it away from me. Here it is, and I want to do what I want with it. So I do fantasize about that in the future as well, about how it just dissolves all this old colonial bullshit that a lot of people are still having to exist within. What do you think about that? It is national. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, like, and I believe in cultural borders, but not in like nations. I don't like fuck nations.
I mean, at the end of the day, if you go into you live in can I dox where you live?
Yes, of course, of course.
Before I dox anyone, you live in Switzerland,
yes.
And obviously, if you live in Switzerland and you go to Germany, you go to Austria, you see that there are subtle differences, but it's not like you cross that line on a map and say, like, oh, fuck, everything's different over here. We all have our different cultures and things, but it's unnecessary to have different monetary values to express these cultures. And I think that's it doesn't matter if you're like, you had your uprising a bit different than we did, but we all click on the same front because we understand Bitcoin literally fixes this. Like, we don't need to worry about conversion rates or fees with sending them for unnecessary third man. We can just pay each other directly instead of thinking about, oh shit, what is this country doing again differently than where I am currently?
Lugano and El Salvador are the perfect example of that. Like, Lugano is in Switzerland, but they're not. But they are, but they're not. It's like they just do their own thing, and nobody can really do anything against it because they're not breaking any laws, and they're just deciding to float a different boat. And
I mean, it's not like people hold a gun to your head, contrary to like the central bank system. You have the ability, even in Lugano, to choose between is it 4 currencies essentially? You got Bitcoin, you got their weird stable coin, I think that no one uses. You do have, Swiss francs, and you get Tether, obviously. Yeah. So people can choose how they want to pay. It's not like people stand, like the mayor is standing with a gun to your head and say, like, pay in Bitcoin. And I think that's what many people still don't understand. Like, you don't have to, you're able to. Obviously, we encourage it, but that's the beauty of having an open system. Everyone can choose what they want to do with it.
Yeah, and at some point, everything else will become obsolete, because why would you want to have something that you cannot control or loses value over time? Like, I love that part in the Bitcoin standard. Like, if the value of money changes with like you're feeling, now you're feeling better, so you're like, oh, so today it's got more value. On tomorrow you're feeling down, so you're like, oh, today it's got less value. It's like if an architect wouldn't have like measurements, no, like imagine a meter is 2 meters tomorrow, and the next day it's only 50 centimeters, and you're like gonna go and buy screws to fix your cupboard that has whatever screws. You say, yeah, I need 20 millimeter screws, and you get like these huge screws that are, it's like, but this is not what I'm looking, it's like, oh, how are you, just doesn't work, you know? And
I guess the only way it would work is for men, especially if certain things who are small in perspective, one day later can become huge. That might be an added benefit for some scenarios.
You well, behave yourself.
Hey, I didn't say what it is. I leave it up to the imagination of everyone.
It didn't take much imagination to.
Yeah, I mean, if it's not fixed, it has some benefits, but obviously not monetary.
Yeah, can Bitcoin fix that? I don't know.
Who knows? Who knows?
Who knows? But back to our lovely mermaid. When was your Bitcoin moment? When was your like, oh shit, fuck, this is Bitcoin, what the fuck is going on? Is this real? You know, everyone has that kind of like, shit, fuck, am I imagining this? When was that moment for you?
Well, that's a good question, because I feel like it's right now since like 2 years, and I'm like still on this high, because since 2 years I got the right info. I got the right, like the Bitcoin standard. I got to Max and Stacy. I got to know who to listen to, because before, like, everybody says something different, and I'm sorry, I'm pretty naive. So I believe, like, people say whatever random shit. I'm like, no, really? No, but you're just joking, right? And then, no, really, it's just like, and I end up believing it. So I know that I have that, so I try to just not really get too involved if I don't really know that it's really true. And yeah, so before that I was like, I'm only Bitcoin only since definitely like 4 years or something like that.
Nice.
And then before, like in 2015, I got my first Bitcoin given because I didn't have any money, and I didn't have any money until 2017, which is the first time I then invested. Not a lot, like 150 francs or something, you know, like I really, when I mean I don't have any money, I mean I don't have any money. Like, I'm a hippie child, my parents, well, let's not even get to that because they're out of the picture. But yeah, it's not like I have anybody who I can really rely on in any way in that sense. So yeah, and music is not the best way to make money.
Yeah.
That has to be said. Like, I'm doing music since 15 years, on the street, concerts, like small little bar concerts and stuff. And like, I'm good. Like, I can usually get by. Like, I can get a huge crowd with me by myself, with my guitar, with my accordion, and it usually pays quite alright. But it's like a lot of energy, a lot of time, and not really enough, like, to, it's enough to survive, but not to invest in Bitcoin or buy myself new speakers, monitor speakers and stuff like that. So yeah. And then, I met this person who told me to everything out, like some cypherpunk freak that like knows how to build a computer and like from 0 to 100, you know, like the whole package. Some dude that was also like there in the first mailings from Satoshi, like he was there since the first day, mining Bitcoin, buying and selling, before it was even like sure that it was going to be anything, like when it was under $1, like I don't know. So he really knows what it's about. And yeah, he told me, look, everything else is shit. It's like, I like to think about it as like, you know, like a level to see if it's straight. Like, but when it's straight, it's straight. You can't like make it straighter, right? It's just either it's level or it's not. Like, and once it is, like, start a new project, dude. That's done. Like, you know, there's other problems we need solving. Like, don't get stuck on the same loop. Once something's perfect, it's achieved what it's.
Yeah. Why fix something that's not broken?
Exactly. Yeah. So that I understood that, like, 3-4 years. That was like, and since then, getting into old Max and Stacy and the Bitcoin Standard and various other things and people that have, like, still right now, and I just started working at Relay. Oh my god, like like, oh my god, like, I mean, I love them so much. When I start working, many times I'm so excited that I literally nearly have tears in my eyes because I'm so happy to be part of that team and to be able to like help some way with my music and with Relay and just like really now be 100% in this fix the money, fix the world.
I'm curious, was your friend Christian Decker?
No.
Okay. It would have fitted. It would have. He's one of the early. I think he's the first PhD doctor guy at the university who wrote about Bitcoin. He got in 2009. He works at Blockstream now. Big Lightning guy. He's also Swiss, so it would have fitted from like the geo location and stuff. But still cool. You got in nicely then.
My friend is a nobody, like nobody knows him, and he is sitting behind his computer since 10 years trying to program decentralized sensors to automize everything and creates the green smart cities of the future, decentralized smart cities. And like, I don't know if you've heard of Made Safe network. They're like since a long time building the decentralized internet of the future, something like that.
Oh,
and,
nice.
like, nobody really knows about them because they're really just in their thing, like still working on it. Like, but like people like these cypherpunk freaks that are like into these decentralized open source with all of this stuff. Well, they are already starting to build for that, like, future. Like they're like he says the internet how we know it, it's not going to be any much longer. So he's like already working. It's really interesting. I understand like 10% of it, but yeah.
But that's quite interesting. So you went, and I'm fascinated by your upbringing because if no money exists, that's always the argument from like central bankers. Like if no money exists, society breaks down, or we get into like the Stone Ages again and all of these things. And I guess certain things are maybe true with that statement. We might not have certain evolutions that fast as we do under the money standards we have today. But that society is not broken. It works with its own rules. And it's interesting that you essentially you got orange pilled before you knew you got orange pilled. Yeah. You already knew what Bitcoin is.
Yeah.
Which is the nice thing to see.
At least from the concept wise, yes, not the technical wise. That's why in the beginning, like IOTA was saying, oh, we're not like a blockchain. weird tangle. Because if you tango, then it uses less energy. And I'm like, okay, why not? And I started like trying to understand what they're talking about, but yeah, no.
So one of the aspects I believe Bitcoin can not only help like the unbanked, underdeveloped countries, whatever, but also creators. And you brought it up before. You've been doing music for 15 years. And you also, I actually heard the version of the song before it released, which is I'm very proud of. We sort of are like the drop zone, Ian, for unreleased projects. We had Knut's book, which is coming out. I heard your song, now it's out. So if people want to get the insight what's going on in Bitcoin, just reach out to Rabbit Hole Stories.
Yeah,
but
we've
you
got all the
managed,
exclusives.
yeah, we're super exclusive. Everyone just needs to reach out. But you wrote a song essentially about Bitcoin and the hope it gave you and all of the things you mentioned before. Can you maybe go a bit into like your career outside of the work you do at Relay and what really drives you with the music and how you want to integrate that into the Bitcoin world?
That is a very good question. I love it. Because when I was small, I actually always thought that I would study something that would give me a lot of money because I wanted to buy the Amazon and make it like a national park and protect all the animals and trees. Because since I'm a vegetarian my whole life, I guess I always wanted to protect the weaker, the ones that cannot speak for themselves, that cannot take a weapon, and that cannot just, I don't know, write an article and be like, oh, they just cut my friends down. So I wanted to make something, I don't know, like quantum physics, you know? I thought like, yeah, I want to do something where not only I can make a lot of money, but also maybe I can invent something that like, I don't know, like saves the ocean or I don't know, whatever. But, well, my life was very messy, my childhood, my parents, and so very young, I just became this like rebel, and I just wanted to be free, like freedom, everything overall. Like I can save the whales and I can do whatever I need to do, but I have to be free and happy first. Like I can't carry on living in this. So I became older and older, and I didn't study quantum physics. I ran away from Studentenwohnheim, which is like a student house where my mother put me because I was a horrible child and she didn't want me anymore. But I only like made it like 2 months and I ran away. And I had like crazy times that were really fun. And for the first time in my life, I felt free and I was happy. And I needed to keep that. I needed overall like that. I couldn't, and if I didn't do things that made me happy, like I would immediately fall back into all these memories that made me feel unhappy. So I had to always chase this feeling, which music gave me. And also music gave me like a lot of hope, I don't know, love, ideas. It opened my mind. I grew up listening to Bob Marley and other things, and so it was always a great source of inspiration for me. And I thought you can reach so many people through music. You can touch so many hearts. Like melodies are something magical, and you can put words to those melodies. And yeah, I don't know, maybe like some people, it makes some people think, and it makes some people realize, hey, we're all together here, and we're only here to have fun. And like, you can't have fun if you don't share. Like the ultimate beauty, the ultimate happiness is the happiness you can share. So that's the ultimate message. That's why I love Latin music. That is very naive and it's very like, oh, let's just dance at the beach and like look at the sunset and drink coconut water and
sounds awesome,
right? And that's like, for me, like that's the deepest message. It's so naive and so simple, but it's really don't we all just want that, and like to have time to enjoy this paradise that we're in? Like that's one of my quotes is, utopia is a state of mind, paradise on earth a decision to take, or a decision to make. I don't know. Yeah, I really believe that. I think
that's a nice quote, actually. So say that again. So utopia
is a state of mind.
Is a state of mind, but paradise
on earth is a decision to make.
Oh, nice. I like that one. I'm going to steal that one, if you don't mind.
Definitely, please do.
We can share it. That's what we do. Not steal. There's no stealing here. There's just sharing.
Definitely.
It's a good quote for a tattoo.
It is a good quote for a tattoo. Yeah, but I'm running out of space, to be honest.
Really small. You can make.
Maybe I could just have it here,
just under the eyes. Yeah,
just under my eyes,
style,
with a teardrop on the other side.
Yeah, exactly. So I started doing music because of that, because it gives me great joy, and I wanted to share. Like I have to feel like I'm doing something to make the world a little bit a better place, even if it's just writing a song, but like something.
And isn't it ironic? Like, I hear this from so many Bitcoiners, and you're obviously, I would put you in the category as a creator, free spirit. And we had guests on, we had Knut on. Knut is for me the optimist. He always sees plus signs, never sees negative things. We'll also have people on who used to be in the finance world, and now they're doing something completely different in the creative world. So there's always this common thing of, hey, we found something we truly enjoy. It may have its downside. Like, not everything is fixed yet with Bitcoin, but we're all working on this. But it gives us possibilities into a brighter future. And if I then often read articles, if I read opinions, which everyone is entitled to have, saying Bitcoin is ruled by psychopaths, I'm like, no, you've never actually been in the community. Like, you've never been at a conference, at a meetup. Ian and I met at the meetup. So like, this podcast was born out of one of these things. And isn't it crazy how the world perceives it? Just because maybe it uses a bit more energy than other things. On a comparison scale, it uses very little energy to huge things. But isn't that sometimes a bit frustrating if you see this, thinking like, there's so many brilliant minds in Bitcoin, and you just focus on maybe like the 0.001% of us?
Yes, definitely. It's always been hard for me to make friends. But since I'm a toxic Bitcoin maximalist, because I have a really dark sense of humor, and like my sarcasm is what saves me from hating everything, and it's my way of dealing with this anger that I have since I'm very small. Like, I used to go to bed crying because the Amazon is being cut down. Like, this is still something that if I think about it too much, I will start crying. And then this sadness transforms to anger, and if I cannot use humor and to let it out and deal with it, it just doesn't work. So people are shocked by my sense of humor very often. It has always been like that, but now since Bitcoin, since I understand Bitcoin, I started talking about it. Because I used to love it, but I don't understand it, so what should I say? But now I kind of start to understand it. Like, I write a song and I give it to my friends to review it to see if everything's correct and I'm not talking bullshit. And usually they come back clean, like, not a lot, like, it's always getting less bullshit.
So with your music, does that toxicity or that toxic maximalism come out in your music, or is it more kind of a generic message about Bitcoin? I
try to keep it in range.
Okay. So what? So for for everybody to sort of listen to it and come on board, or? Yeah,
I try to keep it children friendly, basically. And,
Okay.
And yeah, I'm not so how to say, yeah, I think that's the best way to say it. I try to keep it children friendly, but I also think children should not be protected by things like death and stuff like that. Like, I don't know, like in Switzerland you have this whole like, no, you shouldn't talk about death in front of children and stuff. And like, I'm more like Mexican culture style, like death is something very sacred. And then I also have a bit of, like I say, a dark sense of humor. Like recently I wrote a song, it says, fix the money, fix the world, hang all the bankers, scammers and kings. And like, I got some negative feedback on that. But like, for me, it's not, when I write it, I'm like, oh yeah, this is funny, you know, like I'm not like really this evil thought, like, yeah, they should all die. And I see it from this like humorous point of view, because I saw Max Kaiser on some interview and he was like, yeah, hang all the bankers, you know, and I just love it. I love when he just goes crazy and he starts throwing around chairs and he just, because for fuck's sake, you know, like, look at this world. Like, if you don't get angry, like, there's something wrong with you. Like, because damn it, you know, it's not cool.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's one of the things not many people understand. And you give me actually a possibility now, because we have gotten some feedback that in one of the episodes I called I think I called Christine Lagarde definitely a bitch, and I called Greta Thunberg either a fraud or a bitch as well. But that's like my personal opinion, and I appreciate what they're doing. They're entitled to do their stuff. I'm entitled to do mine. But I think we live in such a hyper mobilized world where people are not even allowed more to say what they're really thinking. Or the way you just said it with like hang the banksters and stuff. The first thing that came to mind is like, yeah, it might be persuaded as being something bad, but like, we burned women in like the medieval centuries because they were legit using different sources of medical procedures. Like, instead of, you know, chopping someone's leg off, they found a solution to like rub some different leaves together and heal them instead of like, you know, cutting them halfway through with their bodies. And that was a witch, and then they got burnt. So I think it's always in the matter of context and perspective how these things are celebrated. And I love that you said you more approach death and stuff from a Mexican standpoint. Again, culture in Mexico, they celebrate is it Cinco de Mayo when you celebrate like no, it's not, that's a different thing. 1st of November, yeah. But they celebrate essentially people in their family who died, and they sort of give them flowers, give them stuff to eat for the afterlife, all of these things, you know. This is not something bad.
They party for them.
Yeah,
like they party hard for them. They're like, you can't party anymore, don't worry, I'll do it for you. You know, like, that's like the ultimate tribute. Like,
but this is not something in the modern system, and I think that's a shame for having seen that. Having said that, though, we have to be honest here as well. Listeners who listened in from the beginning know Ian and I both believe that everyone should have their opinion, but there are some things, I think, which some toxic maxis, I'm not saying everyone, I think are not doing so well on Twitter. But again, they're open to it, and as long as we keep the discussion clean, I think we shouldn't judge too hard. Which is, I appreciate that you come out and say that, set the record straight, because a lot of people get in these interviews and they're like, you know, I prefer Bitcoin, and then behind the back that you get like a DM saying like, actually, I'm a toxic maxi, but I didn't want to say it. So I appreciate that you're open and honest about it.
I just, for me, it's like I said, it's like a joke. It's like an insider, you know? Like,
it fits your character as well, I guess.
Everybody, I don't know, like a toxic maximalist, like why did that come up? It's like, I guess the people that only talk about Bitcoin, like the friend that never stops talking about Bitcoin, and he always wants to like convince you that Bitcoin is the way, and you're like, oh, for fuck's sake, just like leave me alone. And that's most probably how it happened. But like, I see it from the point of view that it's like just some person that is really motivated and they really love Bitcoin and they really care about you, and they really want to like you to understand this because they care about you so much, and then you end up like calling them toxic. But it's just like, for me, it's like some sweet insider joke, and everybody who really loves Bitcoin, that's like a toxic maximalist, because obviously they think Bitcoin 100% like 24/7. It's like, I mean, it's not even their fault in a way. They just love it so much, and
Just live and breathe Bitcoin. And
exactly.
just preach Bitcoin as, you know, from the hilltops.
Yeah, and like, I mean, for me, it's so hard. So often, like, I have to hold myself back so badly, like, to just not, like, burst a Bitcoin. But because it's just so often, it will be like...
And your friends are like, don't say the B word tonight, please. Just don't say the bloody B word.
Exactly.
Leave it alone. Don't touch it. Leave it.
And I don't know, for me, like... this love can express itself in many different ways. I'm sure there's a lot of Bitcoin maximalists that don't go spreading around the thing everywhere, but they're just as maxis as others. And what you said before, Joel, yeah, there is some Bitcoin maximalists that are like super aggressive, like just like basically telling you that you're stupid and that all your questions are stupid and like you should just like go and read a book, damn it, do your homework. And I mean, it is harsh, you know, it's like this truth that hurts, but I like it. I like when somebody talks to me like that. When somebody makes me see when I am being naive, and I also like the other side. I also like the person that is nice about it and that takes their time to explain it to me. I don't know, I just think it's like all these different types of approaches to orange pilling the world are necessary and are beautiful. Like, I enjoy so much to see somebody going like nuts and what, the Bitcoin is the way, just as much as somebody who's like showing you graphs and explaining, okay, so because here in 2016 and then you go here and like it's just so rich and like different colors of the rainbow.
Yeah, it's like a multifaceted approach. So there's somebody out there that can, it's like sending a message to somebody, you know, how it's received is how they understand the world and see the world. So if you say something to someone and they don't understand it, maybe you're just getting the message wrong for them. So if you've got different people in different camps in Bitcoin saying something slightly different, but all about Bitcoin in the same way, but you know, one's more aggressive than the other, one's more approachable, one's more technical, one's more kind of philosophical. You know, you've got all these people within the Bitcoin space. It's going to hit people's brains all over the place. So there is a need for everyone in the space to do what they think's best for Bitcoin, right?
Yes, exactly. 100%.
Yeah, I mean, you're the living example of it. Just because someone says I'm a toxic maxi, I think everyone persuades that statement a bit differently. Everyone has different experiences with it. Doesn't mean you're a bad person. I always have to smile a bit if I'm on Twitter and then you see some altcoiner coming in and calling the maxis maxi pad, and then, you know, the Bitcoiners go in and call them meth heads and all of these things. So it just goes back and forth again. And I'm always like, just because these statements exist doesn't mean that the people sitting behind these names, whether that be on Twitter or in real life, you know, are bad people. They just have very strong opinions about things. And should we actually live in a world where that's possible? Like, if we go by the Bitcoin ethos, everyone is accepted, right? Even your enemies. So I think that is some of the things which I appreciate. And I think if you really speak to someone like you who says like, hey, if you don't like it, that's fine. That's okay. I'm like happy over here. I think that should be the spirit people should take away from these things and not like be so bitter about one particular statement or one particular thing they said in the past.
Yeah, just stop taking life so serious. Like, seriously, there is really important things that we need to solve, and like we shouldn't like, I don't know, like, just have a little sense of humor. Like, even if somebody really means what they're saying and it's something stupid, in a way, like, when people are stupid saying stupid things, isn't that somehow funny? Isn't, like, you know, the situation just like comical? Like, can't you look at it from that point of view instead of, I don't know, getting all taking it personal and getting offended, and like, just walk away. Just find someone else who does like yeah, vibe on your frequency, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, my grandma always said, nature heals itself. And I guess I sort of look at these things the same way. Because at the end of the day, it's all good for Bitcoin, right? Also, this whole NFT thing happening currently, I don't have time to keep track of it. But I'm like, okay, even if it happens, it's good for Bitcoin. Maybe some crypto bros come over and like, oh shit, this Bitcoin thing is actually better than we thought. And if that happens, I'm like, okay, I'm willing to give up some debates on Twitter for more people coming in.
Yeah, I will not talk about NFTs because it's really something I still don't really understand. But I just watched Julian Linninger and Samsung Mao interview a couple of days ago, and Samsung was talking about it in from an interesting perspective. Like, I understood that they were approaching it from a different angle, but really it was the same thing, just real and fair and not scamming people. And so I'm sure that there is a place for NFTs in the Bitcoin universe we're living.
I have a theory that we will not call it NFTs. Maybe we call it something like Satoshi's Collectibles, or whatever it will be.
Ooh, yes,
just to differentiate again.
Right, yeah.
Because I spoke to someone on LinkedIn today. He really had a cool point to build on this usability. I was like, oh shit, it actually makes sense in a creator way. Like, creator would be able to own their stuff forever on Bitcoin. I was like, looking at it from that perspective, that sounds amazing. It's something I want to support, right?
Yeah, but
it's always cool.
But looking from it from the open source perspective,
Sure,
is that even necessary? Like, I mean, I don't want to own my music. Like, it's not mine. If anything, like, music owns me. Like, I'm the one following it around. I'm the one trying to find the flow. I'm the one carrying the guitar. It's not the guitar carrying me, you know? So, and for me, like, I channel this stuff from whatever, the Bitcoin spirit. and I'm a warrior of trying of this world, of this nature planet, and trying to look after it and trying to live in symbiosis with it and give something back. And this is my way of giving something back. And I believe that in the future, Bitcoin is going to be a ultimate, like a last case solution for when you are not able to trade directly, because usually there is something that you can trade. So why would you need Bitcoin? Only if there is nothing you can trade. So in an ideal world, like, do I really need to get paid for my music, or do I just need money to make my music? Because if I just need money to make my music, I can just like open a pot and say, hey people, if you want to listen to my music, if you want me to carry on doing my music, then I'm going to need you to put some money in the pot, because like I can't finance myself if not. Like, I need to survive, I need to eat, I need new strings for my guitar, I don't know, all these things, right? But if people really love what I do because I put everything into it and I try to do the best job I can, maybe they are gonna like it enough to think, hey, I want this to carry on happening, so I'm gonna put some money in the pot. And if I want to use her song, I can use her song. I don't need to ask her. Like, nobody, like, just go for it. Like, if you can make some bucks of my song, fucking awesome. Like, I'm happy that I could help you. And yeah, so I don't know if that, yeah. I don't know if I believe in this, because isn't like the Satoshi way exactly that? No, isn't it exactly like, it's not about me. It's about the song. Like, I don't need people to know who I am. Like 200 years from now, if people don't know that I wrote the song, well, so be it. If the song still exists, fucking awesome. If the people are still listening to it, if the message is still making people happy and letting them dance and having a good evening, and being like, ha ha ha, remember the days when people didn't understand what decentralized money is, and ha ha ha, yeah. Whatever. Oh, this was one of the first artists that made Bitcoin music 200 years ago. yeah, it would be fun, no? But it's not about me. It's about, I mean, I just do it because I love it. And I need to survive. And I want to make people dance. I want to make people dance. That's what I want.
You don't want to see me dancing, I promise you that.
I would love to see you dancing. I'm sure
Yeah.
you'd like find the groove to my music because you know what?
Yeah, it would take me a while and maybe a few beers, but I'll get there.
My music, the idea is that it's gonna make you dance even if you don't want to. It's like
All right, then.
it's like your body's just gonna go for it.
Well, I'm going to have to listen to some of your music now and see if I can find my groove, and I'll let you know.
Still not. The ultimately mastered recordings are still not.
All right. Well, when they're out, I'll be one of your first customers. I assure you that. Do you know what I'm curious about? Do you have a fantasy about what Bitcoin might look like 100 years from now, and what would that look like in your mind?
Well, have you ever heard of solar punks?
Yeah.
Yeah. They're like a mixture between cypherpunks and hippies, I guess. So a green future where we all live in symbiosis with nature. And Bitcoin is, like I said, it's going to be the last case scenario money that you use when nothing else can be traded. And everything's going to be decentralized. Like Bitcoin is like, well, the thing that is going to ultimately teach everyone how important it is to be decentralized. Like only like
Right.
that we can be an ecosystem. If not,
Sounds like a beautiful future.
Yeah, definitely. And like I say, it's going to be utopia and a paradise on earth. For me, at least, that's what I believe. That's the only way. If we don't do that, I think we're all just going to die. Which is okay
true.
as well. I mean,
If that's our fate, that's our fate, right?
yeah, we're going to die anyway. So
Exactly. Yeah.
200 years from now, we're not going to be here anymore.
Right.
Yeah. So.
Perfect. Is there anything before we wrap it up that we forgot to mention or ask you, or you would like to give out to our listeners? We will always want to make sure to give that possibility at the end for our guests.
Yes, I would love to tell you about the Orange Pill Jam Project, which is an open musicians collab that I'm trying to make with musicians from all over the world to do recordings remote and live concerts, live sets on Bitcoin conferences. Mainly that would be the vision that I have, as in to like give the Bitcoin conference a cool after everybody's talking and you've been there listening, and then the night have some nice jam. Some orange peel jam.
Nice.
And build the orange party layer.
Yeah, because we got the orange social aspect with the Orange Pill app. This is actually how we met. We messaged back and forth on the Orange Pill app.
All right.
I think there are a lot of, like, we got Noster now with social media, and I think a lot of projects are also in development for other media things. So why not have the party aspect covered as well? And the music aspect.
Totally. And so if anybody wants to join, we're especially looking for mixing, mastering, sound engineer that would like to play live, like do a live dubbing set, because the music will be Afro, Latin, dub, gypsy, hip hop fusion.
Go on then. Yes, go for it.
Somewhere
like
around
it.
there, I don't know. And so, basically we want to just dub everything. Everything has to be dubbed.
Okay.
Because
How can people reach out to you for that?
Well, over Twitter. I guess that would be a good way. or my email or my Telegram, and I have a lot of decentralized messaging applications, which no one has. But
Nice.
yeah, you will add these things in the.
Yeah. I think I will
Yeah, we'll
link
put them
your
in the show notes. Yeah.
I will link your tweet where you tweeted about the ideas and reach out to you and stuff.
Yes,
So
yes,
definitely look
exactly.
in the show note, guys, if you fit that criteria.
And yeah, any musician from everywhere is welcome, and it would be really cool to have loads of people participating.
Do you play any instruments, Joel?
Yes, I play the electrical guitar, and I play I play acoustic guitar, but I like the electrical bit more. You can play around a bit more with that.
Well, there you go then. Then I'm sure you've got your first contributor there.
Exactly, you can join. You can be part of the.
You just need a lot of patience with me. I'm not good with my accords.
I can just about manage 3 blind mice on the recorder. That's the
okay,
extent of my
Worst case, you can play the tambourine, Ian. Everyone can play the tambourine.
or the triangle.
Yes, the triangles. Very good.
Don't underestimate the timing of a triangle.
I
That's
was
all I'm going to
gonna
say.
That's true.
say it's actually like one of the most important instruments. If the triangle dude is off, everybody's gonna be like,
Oh,
what
dear.
is happening?"
Yeah. Listen, it was brilliant talking to you. Thank you for joining us here at Rabbit Hole Stories. It was awesome. And thank you.
Thank you,
Joel?
guys. It was really, really awesome.
Thanks for being on.
Pleasure. Take care.